What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a ride on the 636 and we're going to chat about my thoughts on beginner riders, where to start, what to look for, and just general advice. Let's do it. Today we're going to talk about my advice, my thoughts and feelings about beginners, about getting into the hobby. I've been riding a long time. I've ridden a lot of bikes. I've owned a good amount of bikes, from big bikes to small bikes to toy bikes, pit bikes, all different sorts of bikes. I've ridden them, I've sold them, I've been around them, I've worked on them. So with that being said, all of this is my perspective based on my years of riding and the things that I see and the things that I've seen that have worked. Okay, so we're going to break it down into three categories. First and foremost is going to be the bike, right? Getting the bike. Second is going to be learning how to ride. And then third, and almost just as important, is going to be the gear that you wear and my general advice and opinions on all of that. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about the bike. The bike is the elephant in the room. Everybody's got their opinion on where you should start, how you should start, how big of a bike you can handle, blah, 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 right? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. There is no secret formula. There is no perfect beginner bike. I have my opinions. I've made videos on them in the past. I think the Duke 390 is one of the best, most versatile beginner bikes there is. But there's a lot of caveats, right? What I want to talk about is the mentality of picking the bike. The mentality behind getting your first bike, what you think you should have, etc. Unfortunately, there's a lot of toxicity and a lot of ego that comes into play. And we're going to talk about ego a lot in this video, because as a beginner rider, you have to put your ego aside. You have to put the ego down and realize that there's a learning curve, and realize that there are skills and skill levels and skill advancement that you need to do, right? And the bike is the first place to start. So when you are picking out your beginner bike, right, engine size is not the end all be all, right? That's not the only factor to consider. I personally think that most beginners shouldn't start on anything above a 500cc. I think that there's way too much that can go wrong. I just think that there's not enough forgiveness in those bikes to make them good beginner bikes, right? That's my opinion. That's where I stand on it. There's a lot of other factors that are going to come in here. One of them being, if you have any experience. Do you have dirt bike experience? Do you have a manual transmission in a car experience? Do you know how to drive one, right? All of these things play into how easy it's going to be for you to pick up and learn how to ride a motorcycle. Learning how to ride itself is really not that hard. Most of the MSF classes, they'll teach you how to ride, you'll get your permit, you'll be licensed to be on the road in under 2 days. That's a whole separate topic, and I don't think that that's enough, but that's besides the point. One of the things you got to think about is what you're going to use it for, right? In the long term, not just the short term, the long term. What is the purpose of the bike? Are you getting the bike for a weekend thing? Are you getting it for fun? Are you getting it to be a commuter? Are you looking to do on-road, off-road stuff, right? There's so many things. There's so many purposes for having a motorcycle. You have to see and decide what your purpose is going to be. Once you decide what the purpose of having the bike is and what you're going to use it for, right? Then that can influence what kind of bike you're going to need. You have to think about what it is for and then decide on how big the engine should be, okay? Also, what comes into play there too, not just the size of the engine, not just what it's for purpose-wise, but also comfortability. Are you going to be on the bike for long periods of time? Are you going to be commuting on it? Are you going to be sitting on it for hours and hours? Is it going to be on-road, off-road? The size of your body matters too. You have to be comfortable on the bike. A lot of those things are going to come into play, and they're going to determine what's going to be best for you in the long run. So just to wrap up what we're talking about with the bikes, the best advice that I can give you is to put all three of those things together, okay, and determine what bike is best for you specifically. Each person is different. There is no answer of this is the best bike to start on. Everybody is going to have a different opinion. Point number two is going to be learning, your learning curve, okay? As I mentioned earlier, you can take an MSF class. Most places it's a 2-day class, 2 full days, written on the course, and if you pass the test, They're going to give you your endorsement. You can go ride on the street. My general feel and my opinion, however, is that that is not enough time to get somebody up to the skill level that they need to be riding on the street. A 2-day class does not get you ready for the highway, does not get you ready to ride in traffic. It doesn't teach you situational awareness that you need, okay? In the class, to pass, you never have to go above 18 miles an hour. Not once. On the road, you're going twice that at least, plus adding in traffic, plus adding in distractions, plus adding in traffic lights, all that stuff, okay? My personal advice, if you know somebody that has a motorcycle, right? Learn with them. Get the basics down. Do a lot of research. Watch a lot of videos. YouTube is a great resource for learning how to ride, okay? Take the MSF course, pass the MSF course, and then do not go out right away onto the street. Don't do it, okay? Take the MSF course, pass. Then, if you're into it and you haven't bought a bike yet, buy the bike and then keep practicing. Your learning curve minimum should be 1 month, 2 months, depending on how much experience you have with riding in general. If you've ever been on a dirt bike, etc., like we mentioned, right? That learning curve is not a immediate, you pick it up and you're just good to go. The problem that most people have is that they get the bike, they've passed their MSF course, and they immediately are on the highway going 100 plus miles an hour. The thing is, it's super easy to go fast on a motorcycle. Super easy. You twist the throttle with your right hand and you hold on. That's it. You just hang on. It takes very little skill to go fast in a straight line on a motorcycle. What you're lacking is all of the muscle memory, all of the skills required to maneuver the motorcycle at low speeds, in traffic, in emergency situations, right? All of those things are so important, and they are immediately overlooked by most of the people. Most people, again, get on the bike, they go fast, they never look back. And then they fall into a trap of, well, I got a beginner bike in step 1, and then I went really fast, right? And I didn't learn, so we skipped step 2, and then we're immediately talking about upgrading our bike. We're immediately talking about getting a faster bike, getting a bigger bike, whatever it might be, because they think that they can handle the bike at X speed, which means that they can automatically handle it at a higher speed. The unfortunate problem, and why we lose way too many riders, especially young riders, is that, again, the ego that we mentioned at the beginning comes back into play. They think that they are better than they actually are. They think they are a better rider because they've had the bike for months, a year, whatever it might be, and it's okay, it's a smaller bike, maybe it's a 400 or 500, maybe it's even a 600, and they go, okay, I've had my bike for a year, it's time for a liter bike, let's go. If you don't have the muscle memory, you don't have the situational awareness, you're not going to be ready for more power. The thing that you forget is that with the smaller bikes, they are way more forgiving. They do a lot of the work. They do a lot of the heavy lifting that you don't have to. And you don't realize that until you have a bigger bike that is not forgiving at all, and all of a sudden all of your bad habits are so apparent. All of your bad habits will bite you immediately because you never learned properly, okay? So, learning curve. To wrap up section number 2, the learning curve should be nice and gentle. You need to master your slow speed maneuvers. You need to master situational awareness, traffic awareness, where to position in the lane, how to take turns, all of those things. Master your throttle control. Basically, you want to be a baby on the bike for as long as you possibly can, so that you can get your body and your muscles trained to automatically know what to do in every situation. And then advance your skills, pick up a bigger bike, pick up a different style of bike, whatever it might be. Section number 3, okay, is gear. Gear is another hot topic, all right? I have plenty of opinions on gear. Everybody has opinions, what to wear, what's good, what's not. You'll find people in full race suits all the time. They refuse to go out on the bike if they're not in leathers. You'll have people that will go out in flip-flops and shorts, t-shirt, no big deal, no helmet, right? A lot of community said, I want to feel the wind in my face, I don't want to wear a helmet. Great, okay. Personal preference with gear is paramount, of course, right? I'm sponsored by NBT. I wear NBT on me, at least in some form, pretty much on every ride, unless I'm at the track or at the tail of the dragon, you know, in my tracksuit, whatever it might be, right? But right now I have on hard shoes, so I have motorcycle boots, I have armored pants, so these jeans are actually armored in the knees and the hips, and they have aramid inside them for slide. I have gloves, I have a helmet every single time, okay? Right now it's super hot in Florida. It's like 90 something degrees, so I'm not wearing a coat. A lot of people will say if you don't have a coat, you might as not wear anything at all. I don't agree, okay? So in the summer, you usually sometimes won't find me wearing a jacket, but again, personal preference. My advice, back to the point to you, is to think about worst case scenario, what's going to hit first. You always want to protect your head. So a helmet, in my opinion, is an absolute. You will never find me on my motorcycle without a helmet. It's just not going to happen. Next is gloves. You'll never see me riding without gloves. If I happen to fall off of this thing, even here, even when I'm stopped, if I fall, the first thing I'm going to do is go to catch myself. I'm going to put my hands down and go to stop myself from hitting the ground. Your hands hit first. So gloves, in my opinion, it's an absolute. You'll never find me without gloves. I'll never also wear shorts. This bike is really hot on the ankles and legs, okay? That just by itself is reason enough to not wear shorts. But besides that, again, if you go down, your knees, they're the next thing to hit, okay? So head, hands, legs, personal preference. A lot of people say jacket all the time, no matter what as well. I tend to agree, except for here in Florida in the summer. I just can't bring myself to do it. And then hard-soled shoes, boots, just not flip-flops, not cloth sneakers, you know, something that's also going to not get torn up if you have to hit the ground at speed. The actual style, the actual companies, all of those things, again, all personal preference. You can pick and choose whatever you like, right? But my advice, get some semblance of gear. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just get yourself a helmet, right? Look at the safety ratings. I'm gonna make a different video on helmets as well, because I really like helmets. I have a variety of them. I have specific ones that I recommend, Shoei being the one that I try to wear the most. But just in general, your helmet, your gloves, pants, and boots, okay? So wear what you like, wear what fits, wear what's comfortable, but just wear some protection. You'll do yourself a favor. That's it right there. And just to wrap everything up, because we've talked about ego a lot, I just want to encourage you guys that if you've made it this far in the video and you're still watching and you're kind of taking all this advice in, right, that you do yourself a favor and do what's best for you. Don't let your friends, your friend group, social media, even me, like I'm giving you advice, but like at the end of the day, still do what's best for you. Don't take anybody else's opinion to heart that you feel like I have to do this or else. I have to do this or else. That's just not the case, okay? Don't let people say if you start on X amount of cc's or less that you're, you know, not a real rider, that it's not a real bike, like all of that nonsense. Just tune all of that out. Riding a motorcycle is about freedom and fun and the enjoyment of the sport and the hobby, or however you want to look at it, okay? That's my encouragement. Do what's best for you, and I promise it will work out in the long run, okay? That's my advice for new riders. I appreciate you if you stayed and you watched the whole video. You know, if you do like this kind of content, I got lots more on the channel. If you feel like supporting, I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe, the bell, the notifications, do the things that help me out. And until next time, be safe.